My name's Alex from SEO Dons, and we've helped UK solar installers add an extra £15 million in gross profit to their business in the last 3 years and counting. So that's gross profit, that's not revenue, because I think revenue in this industry is a stupid metric to base results on. Now, we've been able to do that without running a single ad, and how that's possible has everything to do with where you're getting your leads from. Here's what's really happening every time you buy a lead from a lead wholesaler. So there's one of two things. Now, one is, let's say you buy that lead from a lead wholesaler that uses Meta to get your inquiries, right? Usually, they're going to be generating those inquiries through an advert. Now, that advert might have a bit of a clickbaity title. Usually they do, because they need to generate leads. So it might have a buy solar for free or get solar for free. Now, as soon as you inquire, that lead is then sold to 5, 6, 7 different companies. Now, imagine if you're the person to buy that lead, it's not going to go very well. Now, if you're on the better side of lead wholesalers, they might have a comparison website. Now, comparison websites tend to be a little bit higher quality just because people are actively searching and they land on that site. The problem still remains the same. That lead is being sold to multiple different companies. Now, essentially, every time you buy one of these leads, you are funding your competitors' advertising, and you're probably also funding their SEO if they generate their leads through websites. Now, there's a specific way to stop doing that and become the company that people go directly to rather than going through those other channels that we spoke about. By the end of this video, I'm going to teach you exactly why the sort of shared leads or buying leads model is designed to work against you as a solar installer, what you can do instead to help you out. So stick around to the end of the video. So let me just explain something, right? When you're working with a lead wholesaler, the only way for them to make money is two ways. One, they need to generate those leads at a stupidly low cost so that they can sell them on for a premium and make margin. Or the other way is to generate them at a fairly expensive cost and then sell them to multiple different people. But the problem is that those lower cost leads, they're low and they're cheap for a reason, which means when you buy them, the quality is just, it's awful. But then on the other side of things, if you do buy a lead decent quality, you're automatically at a disadvantage because that's being sold to so many different other people. Now, let's say you're on the better end of this, where there is a quality inquiry that you've somehow managed to, buy from someone. Because they've been contacted by so many people, what do you think is going to happen? They're probably going to be shopping for the lowest price possible. As an installer in your shoes, you don't want to be that person racing to the bottom. You want to be the company that is able to charge a premium for the work that you provide, and you're here to stay, so your business needs to make money. So already off the get-go, you're at a disadvantage. Now, the companies that genuinely do the best from this sort of buying in bulk leads and buying data, they have call centers. They have people who are around calling leads multiple times a day in, day out, and they're able to actually get those jobs. Now, most installers are not in that position. Maybe you're in a situation where you're still very much on the tools, you're still going to site, you're still coordinating the surveys, that you're doing the designs, the quotes. If you're busy doing everything else, that lead is not getting called. Whereas a bigger company who's been around for longer and they've got that sales process, they're going to be calling that lead so many times and they're going to be the one winning that job. So you're already, again, at a disadvantage if you do not have that sales infrastructure. So who is actually generating the leads that you're buying? I mean, if you can become that company that people go directly to, then you're never going to have to buy leads ever again. And they're not going to be sold to multiple different companies. So you get all of the upside. So one of the first things that people generally do when they're interested in any product is they usually search for it, don't they? So they're going to go to Google and they're going to type in solar installers or solar panels in my area. Now, that area, I don't know, it might be something like Hertfordshire or the Midlands or Harrogate or wherever it might be. And they'll click on the first ranking website they see, usually. And a lot of people do. Now, the companies that are generating those inquiries have comparison websites that have decent SEO. So when they're ranking, the homeowner clicks on that website, they fill in their details, and then automatically that lead is then put into the database and then sold to different people. So that is how leads are generated through these sort of wholesaler sites. Owner of that site, whoever that might be, invested heavily in their SEO so that it can get to that point. Because if you think about it, I mean, it is a profitable business model. If they generate a lead, which they're not doing any advertising, so God knows, it probably just took a bit of time and a bit of investment. But once it's done, it's done. And then they're generating leads, fairly cheap amounts, and then just selling it to multiple different people at a premium. So they're making a lot of money. Now, if you're buying those sorts of leads, which again, quite quite hard to come by lead wholesalers that do it properly. If you do, you're essentially just buying proof that organic search works. You know, someone's built a business from it and you are just buying the output. So you don't need to outspend Eon or Octopus Energy on Google ads. You don't need to buy leads. You don't need to run loads of ads on Meta necessarily. All you need to do is make sure that you are appearing organically when someone in your local area is searching for you. That's all you have to do. Now, someone who finds you organically through that sort of process, they're not necessarily shopping around going to 5, 6, 7 different companies. You know, they like what they saw, they inquired, and assuming you're following a half decent sales process, you've got a very, very good chance at closing that customer. This is literally exactly what Alps Electrical do, and they've done over £300,000 in sales in the last 2 months, which is around 100k in profit. And Solar UK, again, they do the exact same thing. They started ranking #1 in Hertfordshire within just 16 days. And you can imagine how much traffic they're now getting. They're becoming the hub of the local area, people to go to. So those leads are not being sold. They're going directly to them without them having to advertise, without them having to spend money buying leads, and without that lead getting automatically sold to multiple different companies. So you are literally getting all of the upside. The other thing to think about is when you just buy the leads, right? You usually do it, let's say your pipeline's dried up and you're buying leads, right? But when you actually invest in your organic search and your SEO, it stays there forever and it compounds the more you spend on it. So once you stop buying leads, the pipeline dries up. But if you actually just become the actual hub of lead generation for yourself in your local areas, once you invest and you actually have that compound, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay there for a long time until someone ultimately comes in and does it better than you. Now, look, the good news is that the local searches for UK solar installers is still very much wide open, and your competition is more or less non-existent. I mean, that's obviously good for us as an agency, but it also means that for you guys, you can actually just implement a couple things and see quite a quick sort of improvement for that. So let's just go into a few of these things now. The first thing that we actually need to talk about is your website structure. And it's going to sound scarier than it actually is. It's pretty simple. As a solar installer, you might have a template for your website or a site that's been built on Wix or WordPress or something like this. But unfortunately, even if it looks decent, it might kind of just be silently killing your chances of getting organic traffic. Your website may have been sort of stretched over 30, 40 miles worth of locations using your template. And I get it, it does feel efficient. You know, you click on the site and you've got loads of different locations scattered there for someone to find and look at. But the problem is that Google is not fooled by that anymore. After the updates that they sort of rolled out towards the end of last year, the algorithm just got significantly better at identifying which companies, websites and pages are actually there to help people versus the websites that are there to just sort of rank and generate traffic. Now, unfortunately, those template websites that are built to kind of just cover everywhere with a scattergun approach, they fall into that category of websites that are just built to generate traffic, not to actually help people. So why does a custom coded site actually perform better? And what is a custom coded site? So when I say custom coded, all that I mean is it's not been sort of made from like one of those drag and drop website builders like Wix or WordPress. A developer has actually come in and custom coded the site. So they've coded exactly what you need, where you need it, and nothing else. So why does it actually perform better then? Well, a few reasons. First is speed and technical performance. So as you guys might be able to imagine, a template carries a lot of bloat. You've got like plugins, page loaders, all of this third-party script sort of just running in the background. Now, all of that slows your website down, and it also slows Google's core website vitals, which is a direct factor towards getting you ranking above your competition. So a custom-built site, as you can imagine, it only loads what it needs to. There's none of that random stuff going on in the background. The second reason is structure. So with a custom coded site, you can build the hierarchy exactly how Google wants to see it for a local service-based business. So you've got clean URLs and you've got proper linking between multiple different pages, like your location pages and your service pages. So for example, you might have a solar installation page in Harrogate that communicates really nicely with your EV charging installation page in Harrogate. And that markup just tells Google exactly what you do and where you do it. And you can't do that properly on a sort of drag and drop website builder. And third, this is probably one of the most important ones, is content specificity. So a custom location page for solar installers in Exeter isn't just a page with Exeter swapped into the template. it can reference an armory of loads of different unique content tailored to that specific location. So it might have information about local planning considerations. What kind of housing stock is in that area? Is it sort of older Victorian houses or is it new builds? What the local council incentives look like for the service that you're offering? Real projects that you've also done nearby. And that's the kind of content that Google actively rewards right now and actively looks for, because it's genuinely useful to someone in Exeter searching for that. And a template cannot produce that. So how do you actually go about making that practically? I mean, let's be real, you're probably not a web developer, right? So this is just something that you need to brief your web developer on. Maybe you've got someone in-house or someone who you worked with externally. If you're serious about making these changes, you just have to brief your web developer to do it. The key thing to ask for is, without using a website template, have it custom coded with proper schema markup and dedicated service pages, location pages, and dedicated blog content that all interlinks together. So it's not a theme, it's not a template, it's all custom. So as you can see, the businesses that are winning the most, who are getting the most traffic, the most leads, the most sales organically, are the ones that Google recognizes as trustworthy in their local areas. So it's not even necessarily the biggest installers, but it's the ones that Google trusts. And you build that trust page by page and location by location, not with a scattergun approach with a template. Now remember, the goal is not to be visible nationally. The goal is to be pretty much impossible to miss within your local area. Now, the next thing to discuss, which is super important, is all about backlinks. Now, again, backlinks is one of those terms that no one really knows what it means, but I say that with a pinch of salt. Obviously, we know. People talk about it as a buzzword, and all that it means, right, is, let's say you have 100 different companies trying to rank in Exeter for a solar installation. So solar installers in Exeter, there's probably loads and loads of companies that are trying to rank for that. The only way that Google or Bing or any search engine is able to determine who to rank above who is through something called backlinks. And all that means is other credible companies and websites that are actively talking about you. So if you're listed in local news articles, directories, registries, or maybe you're on a trusted installer scheme with one of your manufacturers or one of your wholesalers or distributors, they often have your company listed on their website, and that is a form of a backlink. So Google looks at that, it says, damn, these guys are credible because loads of other people are talking about you, and it starts ranking you above your competition because of that. And I'd say backlinks probably make up about 70% of the success of your SEO. So one of the first things I would do in your position is reach out to all of your local news articles, your distributors, your wholesalers, even see if your manufacturers have any trusted installer schemes, all of your accreditation bodies that you're currently with. See if you can be listed on their sites, because so many installers are. And if you're currently not, you're missing out on backlinks that you could otherwise have. And as soon as Google recognizes that, you will start getting more traffic as a result of it. And just to show you how much importance we sort of put behind the backlinking strategy, we own and control one of the largest UK domain networks in the industry. So over the last sort of 3-4 years or so, we've already amassed over 100 different domains. So think solar panels for factories, solar panels for farms, warehouses, distribution centers, data centers. We own so many of them. And because of that, whenever we start with a client, one of the first things we do is plug them into that backlink network. All of the hard work's already done. And, a lot of SEO agencies will spend 12, 24 months trying to figure out a proper backlinking strategy, whereas we've already done it. But you are also sat on a gold mine with your existing network. So just leverage it and see how many backlinks you can get set up. Even if it's a couple, it goes a really, really long way. Now, in future videos, we're going to go into some more detail about some of those core aspects. And at the same time, things that we didn't talk about, which we will talk about in another video, is basically just citations, social profiles. We're going to go into more depth about location pages and service pages, and also educational content, which I think is also extremely important. And then we're also going to talk about backlinks in some more detail as well. But hopefully that was useful, and hopefully it gave you a lot of insight. Again, at the start of the video, I mentioned to you that buying leads is just essentially a way of you funding your competitors' SEO. And that's not dramatic. That is ultimately what you're doing. But the best installers are those ones like our clients, Alps Electrical, Solar UK, Years, Midland Solar. They're all absolutely smashing it. And that's because they built this system for themselves. So they're not externalizing it or outsourcing it to anyone else anymore. So if you want to know what that looks like for your area, you can literally just book an SEO audit. We'll do one one for free. So we'll basically just dive into some detail about your business, where it currently is, what your online presence looks like, and actually give you a bit of a tailored approach. You can literally just go ahead and book an SEO audit if you want. It's in the description. And yeah, there's no obligations to work with us. It's literally just a straight answer where you stand and what you can do better. So link is in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.